All right, it says what point I want to hear on this page is carbon-14 is created in the upper atmosphere as nitrogen atoms are bombarded by cosmic radiation. For every 1 trillion carbon-12 atoms, you will find 1 carbon-14 atom. So if the different amounts of nitrogen and carbon in the air are going to affect the final result. So if that fluctuates, you'll always get a different date. The carbon-14 that results from the reaction used by cosmic radiation quickly changes to carbon dioxide. Just like normal carbon-12 would, plants utilize or breathe in carbon dioxide when ultimately release oxygen for animals to inhale. The carbon-14 dioxide is utilized by plants in the same way normal carbon dioxide is. Carbon-14 dioxide then ends up in humans and other animals as it moves up the food chain. All right. Now this is a video of this woman named Mary Schweitzer. She basically discovered organic tissue in something that was supposedly 68 million years old, and I believe scientists say over 100,000 years. All like brain tissue is supposed to be fossilized, and it's supposed to be the only thing supposed to be there is the teeth and bones. But this skeleton that was found that was supposedly 68 million years old had tissue. Okay, this woman. She found it pretty recently too. So I'm gonna play this little video right here, and you're basically going to see that there are scientists, scientists that don't believe in what the mainstream scientists are saying about the age of these bones. Okay, so it's not just people that believe, in the Bible, or that believe, we haven't been here for 65 million years, over 65 million years. I mean, the Earth and everything here hasn't been created that long ago. That there are other scientists that actually believe have similar views. All right, I'm gonna play this video. Dinosaur bones, carbon-14 dated. And a lot of
radiometric dating
dinosaur bones weren't even carbon-14 tested, dated. They just said they were over 65 million years old.
With uranium, lead, or potassium argon cannot be used to date dinosaur bones directly, nor the sediment. Radiometric dating with uranium, lead, or potassium argon cannot be used to date dinosaur bones directly, nor the sedimentary rocks in which they are found. Since the 1800s, dinosaur bones have been assigned ages according to their place in the geologic column. For dinosaurs, that is 65 to 230 million years
ago. You hear that?
When carbon-14 dating became available around 1950, dinosaur bones were considered to be way beyond its detection limit of tens of thousands of years, so nobody bothered to test them with it.
There you go.
Carbon-14, or radiocarbon, is considered to be extremely reliable. Its accuracy has been verified by using it to date artifacts whose age is known historically.
That's true.
While an animal is alive, it takes in radioactive carbon-14.
But when you get to a certain
when
date,
it dies, carbon-14 decays away
accurate
over time. The amount remaining tells you how long the animal has been dead. Many dinosaur bones are not fossilized. Dr. Mary Schweitzer, professor of marine, earth, and atmospheric sciences at North Carolina State University, surprised scientists in 2005 when she reported finding soft tissue in dinosaur bones. She started a firestorm of controversy in 2007 and 2008 when she reported that she had sequenced proteins in dinosaur bone. Critics charged that the findings were mistaken, or that what she called soft tissue was really biofilm produced by bacteria that had entered from outside the bone. Schweitzer answered the challenge by testing with antibodies. Her report in 2009 confirmed the presence of collagen and other proteins that bacteria do not make. The reason for the controversy is that all
This
traces
fossil
of
could not
soft
be
tissue
68
should have
million years
disappeared
old.
by 100,000 years.
That's the point.
Likewise, if dinosaur bones are 65 to 230 million years old, there should not be any carbon-14 left in them
Exactly.
either. But there is.
But there is.
Members of the paleochronology group are consultants in geology, paleontology,
But
chemistry,
remember,
engineering,
these
and
are still
education
Esau. You know,
to
it's still
perform research
Edomites.
on fossils. They have now tested samples from many different dinosaur skeletons for carbon-14, and in every case, the dates fall between 22,000 and 39,000 years before present. That easily explains why soft tissue survived till now.
So they carbon dating.
Dinosaur bones are much.
They said they carbon dated the bones that they found before the 1950s when carbon dating was invented. And it fell between those years according to the carbon dating, which still isn't accurate because of weather modification. Well, because of weather, okay? Different weather, cosmic weather, okay? So to say that carbon dating is accurate and to use this number 65 million years is just they don't agree with. It's lunacy, you know.
Much younger than they were assumed to be.
Much younger.
The Morrison Formation is a dinosaur graveyard averaging about 330 feet thick that covers much of the central United States with layers of sand, mud, and silt cemented into rock with calcium carbonate, limestone. Its position in the geologic column is late Jurassic.
Which all
In
affect the carbon date.
1989, a team dug up a skeleton buried just west of Grand Junction, Colorado. It was an Allosaurus, a 40-foot-long carnivorous dinosaur. Here we see an upper hip bone or ilium being uncovered. These are vertebrae, a rib, and a tarsal bone that was part of a foot. A bone sample was sent to the University of Georgia for carbon-14 testing in their accelerator mass spectrometer. The result was a date of 31,360 years before present, plus or minus 100 years. The Hell Creek Formation
we're
is
65
another
million
dinosaur
years.
graveyard.
Where's 65
in
million
Upper
years at?
Cretaceous layers
We're
of
68 million
sandstone,
years. We're
mudstone,
100 million years
clay,
at.
130 to 560 feet thick. The formation covers a swath across the north
Yeah.
of 31,300.
I hear
The
that.
upper hip bone or
Gotta
ilium
hear that
being
again.
uncovered. These are vertebrae, a rib, and a tarsal
Point
bone
is, it
that
ain't
was part of a
65
foot.
million years. That's the point.
Bone sample was sent to the University of Georgia for carbon-14 testing
Bone sample.
in their accelerator
Carbon-14
mass
testing.
spectrometer. The result was a date of 31,360 years before present, plus or minus 100 years. The Hell Creek Formation is another dinosaur graveyard in Upper Cretaceous layers of sandstone, mudstone, and clay, 130 to 560 feet thick. The formation covers a swath across the north central
If it
part
was
of the
65
United
million
States.
years old, there will be no carbon-14
2007,
left.
A skeleton was dug up 7.5 miles southeast of Glendive, Montana. It was a very large ceratopsian dinosaur like this Triceratops, but it had an unusual protective frill and its brow horns extended sideways, so it may be a new type of ceratopsid. Over half of the bones were removed from the dig site. They included bones of the front left leg and shoulder blade, the neck, the nose horn, the left femur, part of the protective frill, a left lower hip bone or ischium, and a bone that projects from the shoulder blade called a coracoid. A bone sample from the femur was sent to the University of Georgia for carbon-14 testing in their accelerator mass spectrometer. The result was a date of 39,230 years before present, plus or minus 140 years.
I don't see 65 million
In
years.
2004, there was
68
another
million
find
years.
in the Hell Creek Formation, this time about 3 miles east of Glendive, Montana. It was from a Triceratops. Only a single femur
So
was
they just
uncovered.
make up this 65 million year
It was wrapped in
bullshit.
protective covering and sawed open. Samples were removed. Testing for carbon-14 at the University of Georgia in 2009 resulted in a date of 24,340 years before present, plus or minus 70 years. Apatosaurus was a sauropod dinosaur. The remains of one was found in late Jurassic strata of the Morrison Formation, about 85 miles northeast of Denver. It was partially excavated in 2007 and 2009. An embedded rib was exposed, and scrapings were taken to be tested for carbon-14. The sample was sent to the University of Georgia in 2011, and the resulting date was 38,250 years before present, plus or minus 160 years. In 2011, a hip bone of a duck-billed hadrosaur was found near Marmarth, North Dakota, in the Hell Creek Formation of late Cretaceous strata. Scrapings from a bone sample were sent to the University of Georgia. The carbon-14 date is 37,660 years before present, plus or minus 160 years. In May 2012, the brow horn of a Triceratops was uncovered about 6 miles southeast of Glendive, Montana. A bone sample was sent to the University of Georgia to test for carbon-14. It dated to 33,570 years before present, plus or minus 120 years. In 2004, a femur bone from a duck-billed hadrosaur was found about 10 miles southeast of Glendive, Montana in the Hell Creek Formation. It was sawed open in 2005 and numerous samples were taken. A sample sent to the University of Georgia was tested for carbon-14 on their accelerator mass spectrometer and yielded a date of 25,670 years before present, plus or minus 220 years. Acrocanthosaurus was a carnivorous dinosaur. Remains of one were found near Glen Rose, Texas in Cretaceous sandstone and excavated in 1984. A bone sample was sent to the University of Georgia in 2010 for testing, and the carbon-14 date was 29,690 years before present, plus or minus 90 years. Carbon-14 is a radioisotope with a half-life of 5,730 years. The useful limit for accelerator mass spectrometry is normally about 43,000 years. Since 2010, that limit was increased to around 55,000 at the University of Georgia's facility. The dates for all the dinosaur bone samples tested are well below these limits. The researchers took special care to preclude contamination by protecting the samples and avoiding cracked areas in the bones. The Center for Applied Isotope Studies at the University of Georgia treated the dinosaur samples in precisely the same way that they treat any other bone samples from late Pleistocene mammals up to the present time. On each report, they wrote what they did. They cleaned the bone with an ultrasonic bath. The bone was crushed and treated with acetic acid to remove carbonates absorbed from outside the bone during burial. This was repeated 4 or 5 times, the final one lasting over 20 hours. Hydrochloric acid was added in a vacuum to dissolve the bone mineral and release carbon dioxide from bioapatite. Further reactions converted the carbon dioxide to graphite, which was then tested in the accelerator mass spectrometer for carbon-14. The presence of soft tissue and original carbon-14 in dinosaur bones has clearly been established, but scientists don't want to believe it. In 2011, a Swedish team found soft tissue and biomolecules in bones of another creature from the time of the dinosaurs, a mosasaur, which was a giant lizard that swam in shallow ocean waters. They obtained a carbon-14 date of 24,600 years before present, but assumed it must be from bacteria, even though they didn't find any. In August 2012, the Paleochronology Group presented their carbon-14 test
That's the evidence that Esau be talking
at a
about.
joint meeting in Singapore of the American Geophysical Union and the Asia-Oceania Geosciences Society. After the conference, they received a note from the conference chairman. It said, "There is obviously an error in these data," and removed the abstract from the conference website. They never made the slightest effort to see the data. It just did not fit the assigned ages for dinosaurs. When they found out about data that was not what they wanted to hear,
Now I'm gonna pause this and start a new video.